That's a wake up. What's up? Hello. It is afternoon time and it is also probably lunch for some. All right. So we're going to jump right on into it from forgotten to free, reimagining wholeness for women affected by childhood domestic violence. I am Tiffany Mensah. I want to thank the team that has put all this together, that's been working on this. Prayerfully, y'all get some rest after and vacation time. Putting a conference together is no easy feat, especially in today's climate. So thank you. Thank you for everyone that is here that has taken the time to prioritize this. I definitely want to give a shout out to my husband. I'm from Arizona. Well, by way of Detroit. That's home roots. Oh, okay. Midwest. But from Arizona, and I left my husband to babysit our Siberian Husky. Okay. So I need you to make sure he's good. So shout out to him. I definitely want to give a most definitely when we're talking about women's mental health, a note in honor of my mother, the first woman to plant seeds. And I walk in her footsteps. We'll talk a little bit about that. And also the women that have poured into me, and also the tribe that is also here with me today as well. I firmly believe in showing honor because that is a lot of how you continue to make it to your next destination by paying respect and giving gratitude and thankfulness to those that help plant seeds into where you are today. And so April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and also National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so it's actually Action Week for child abuse prevention. And so being able to stand before you to talk about this topic as adults is also a pull back and giving back even to the youth. So before today, how many knew what childhood domestic violence was? Okay. That's it's striking. So the statistics, childhood domestic violence. I've had coffee, nitro cold brew with 2 extra shots, and it's activating. So my apologies to you. So childhood domestic violence is basically when you grew up in a home and you're exposed to it, right? So we know the ACEs, a lot of the adverse childhood experience work that talks about the level of when there is abuse, physical abuse, but there's also the forgotten population of, hey, but what if you did not experience the abuse? You were in the environment. That still counts, that still matters. And I wrote a book called Forgotten Living in the Shadows of Domestic Violence. So that book was actually my final college paper. And my best friend, who's now my sister-in-law, that's a whole nother Jenny Jones episode for those that remember that, was like, you should write about your life. It's like a lifetime story because it was one of those creative writing classes. I'm like, okay, yeah, bet. But it was so therapeutic that I was like, let me keep writing even after the class to get it out because I was surprised at how much I remembered and all the things. Fast forward, my homie who became my husband, when he said he wanted to propose, we'll talk about it. But it was like, so you really want to marry me? I need you to read this paper and see, because you're gonna get my in-law, this in-laws, this your family now too. And you're gonna see the dynamics of like all the work and healing that I've done. You still want to say I do? And he was like, I do. And by the way, you've done so much therapy work, you should like revamp it and publish it to help others heal from this. And I was like, all right, because it was the first versions were pretty dark. So I did that, and during the market research, I was doing the market research to see if there's an audience. And I was like, childhood domestic violence, that's a thing. It's not just me because I grew up in a home of what happens here stays here, right? That is absolutely not. You see, I put that right there. It's not true. It bleeds into our schools. It bleeds into the businesses. It bleeds into our community as a whole. And when I saw that there's less than 15% awareness, so those that knew about it before today versus those who didn't, that tracks because it's not a lot of awareness. And when my book launched right in the pandemic, February 20th, 2020, didn't know the world was going to shut down a month later. So many people are like, hey, I didn't even know this was a thing. This is language. 40 million adults. Hi, I'm Tiffany. I'm one of the 40 million. Grew up in these homes. That is so. If we've never talked about it, if we've never had language, how do you heal? How do you heal from that? So that's what we're going to talk about. The relevance of this is that, and I know these stats are higher, especially in the pandemic, because 1 billion children around the world are growing up in these type of homes. 15 million plus. I had the pluses to it. And this is per Childhood Domestic Violence Association. There 15 million in the US alone are growing up in this, but there's less than 15%. Because what happens here stays here. But what if you don't know? You're like, I'm not going to agree that this happened because I'm showing loyalty to my family. So I don't say anything. I don't acknowledge it. Even me deciding like, hey, I'm going to like do this life of work was a whole barrier. We'll talk about it. So I have this up here for you to read, but really when you talk about the invisible visible, so when you look at all these things, these are the impact. This is the data. This is why this is important. When I started doing this reading and doing the science, I'm a certified trauma support specialist. And I was like, hold up. Wait a minute. So you're telling me if I don't heal, then I basically, in essence, can shave 20 years off my life? And these are all the things that come along with just being exposed. These are the seeds that get planted. And when you talk about mental health, especially in an age where domestic violence, we've seen the news just this week. It's exhausting. It's continuing to go up. And I grew up in the 90s. It really wasn't talked about in the 90s, even though I feel like the 90s were the best time to be alive. But, that's just my bias. But it wasn't really talked about. So I am hopeful that the conversation is happening, but there's this forgotten population that didn't even know this was a thing. And I was literally walking through this. So when I say forgotten or free, when we pull apart what this looks like, right? I'll break apart the title. You were like, forgotten or free. So when we look at even reimagining, the definition of reimagining is to form a new concept, to recreate. So I am inviting you all today to do something bold and reimagine wholeness with me, because it is a quality of being whole. It's a new concept, right? When you say wholeness, it can look different. And the questions that I ask is, who taught you wholeness? If you grew up in one of these homes of domestic violence, exposed to it, and when you think about even the word wholeness, who taught you wholeness? Who taught you what that should look like? Especially in AI, especially in a TikTok era where everything is a sound bite and it's like, oh, yep, that should fit, that should work. Who taught you wholeness? So we're going to talk about that today. And when I have this up here about healing balance, the heart and the brain, because it's like sometimes it's not sync together, right? And when you come in, there's the balance of hey, manage your anxiety, work on your anger. You can see those examples. I want to give you an example that's coming to my mind right now. Spoiler alert, I started a nonprofit organization 6 years ago, also in the pandemic, because I didn't want to just write a book to drive awareness. I want to drive action. That organization is called D.O.V.E.S Network, Daily Overcoming Violence and Embracing Safety, because it is a daily decision to choose safety, especially when you look at the systems that are here. And that forgotten population are teenagers, right? So we exist to help them heal from the impact and exposure of domestic violence through intervention, prevention, and empowerment. And so right now we work in schools, we have programming, and the programming birthed because, and I'm going to tell you my story in a minute, how this all connects. The programming birthed because I watched schools, no disrespect, there's so much happening in schools. There's so much for schools to manage, and they're so underpaid, bless their hearts. And with the kids today, I kept hearing they're bad, they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that. I always go to what's happening at home. What is happening at home? And so even with the school work that I do, I have heard educators that's like, they just need this, like label them this and going out the way. But what if that child watched their parent get beat the night before? And now they're in the classroom. What if they watch their parent flee, just run out the crib with everything they have? Now show up to school, but they have nowhere to stay. They have no food. They're sleeping in their car. And in Arizona, there is a 200 bed wait limit right now. There are actually students sleeping in their cars with their parents that have chosen to leave a life of domestic violence. So it's not just one thing. It is it's both. And so I'm encouraged, even hearing a lot of the conversations of the past 2 days of the great content from both of these angles, of holistic care. I heard someone say, well, yesterday, it's been so much great content. The names are escaping me, but she talked about the youth trafficking in plain sight. And she mentioned that even as she interacts with youth, she just has some food and some snacks there, and you get an entirely different child. So when you look at is healing consistently balanced, it cannot be just one element, because if you heal here, but is it healed in your mind as well? Because where your thoughts go, there goes your actions as well. Same for your heart. Out of the heart, the abundance of the mouth speaks, right? So healing both of them together, it takes a comprehensive component to it. So my story, I thought I was free. I started witnessing domestic violence at the age of 9. I'm the youngest of 4, all the way into 17. My mom was like, "You're the last one. I am going to leave your father." Left him. Thankfully, she led away with her life, because as you see today's statistics. And in the 90s, she left my dad about 7 to 8 different times before she finally divorced him, from 9 to 17. And we would stay with people, had no idea, mad dashes in the middle of the night looking for asylum. And every one of the adults was empathetic to my mom. But me, nah, you a brat. You got an attitude problem. You this, you're that. But see, when you grow up in that household, you're taught, don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. So we were only secluded and isolated to our house. I only knew my siblings. I only knew my parents, my mom and my dad. I had no way to know social skills. Oh, by the way, my father is a preacher. So it was also be seen and not heard. So no, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't know you, but I like your pink dress, right? So I have adults that's saying this to me. And then I'm in environments where children are in the home as well. Now they think I'm here for them. And I'm like, you don't even know the type of bedroom I got. I don't want none of your toys. I want to be at home. I didn't even get to grab none of my stuff. So you keep telling me I'm angry. You keep telling me I have an attitude problem. Then what am I going to do? I'm going to be that. I'm going to show you that. Let's go. I don't get to have any way that I want to. So I become what you keep speaking over me. Then I was told, you're not going to do nothing but get pregnant and have babies. Oh, that awakened a monster. Because at this point, you don't know the life I done gone through already. And I was told this at 17 years old with a 3.8 GPA in high school, graduating with honors. What? You said that to me? And it was a family member. So whoever said sticks and stones will break your bones, words never hurt, they lied. And that put in my head, like, even if I have all this and I still get this spoken over me, okay, bet. So I think I'm free. I graduated, go to college. I'm out of the house. I'm away from the dysfunction. My parents decided to divorce my senior year. That what? Who plans this? It's been about y'all all these years. Now is my time. And all of the rose to the top. So, okay, bet. During my senior year, during my college years, I tried, if no one else is going to see me, no one else is going to care, then I'm going to just self-medicate. So I tried drugs. Tried smoking weed. It didn't work for me. Because when the high came down, I still felt the way. Tried drinking. I hated the hangover aspect. Like, just, that don't work. So then I was watching movies. Love and Basketball was the main movie at the time, which when you look back, it is so problematic. I wish I would fight for a dude. What? But at the time, my brain was still developing and being born. I was like, oh, this looks so romantic. Okay, bet. Sex is it. Sex became my drug. Okay, I like this drug a little bit more. I'm going to get my Prince Charming. I'm going to develop a life for myself. But now I'm just giving my body away to the cutest face. That's still dysfunction, because I didn't know domestic violence wasn't just physical. It was also verbal. It was also sexual, financial. We didn't have digital really kind of starting. I mean, kind of, because if you keep paging me 911 20 times, that's a little bit of digital. There's some that's like, what, pager? So I told you the 90s was a time. So I'm on college, take this on, scared. but I'm motivated. So I take on all the credits because I got in my back of my mind, yo, you said I'm gonna get pregnant, have babies, do bet. Took on full credit load, worked 3 jobs, the best jobs, tired myself out, survived. I don't know how, but I survived. Fighting on campus with unhealthy relationships, modeling. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna be what my parents was, but I am. But I thought because I'm knucking and bucking back, I'm different. No, I'm the same. On campus, fist fights. Attempted sexual assaults on campus. Not telling anyone. I was a size 8. I went down to a size 0. I didn't know depression was a thing. Sleeping off, not eating. I didn't know a lot of the topics we've been talking over the past couple of days was a thing. But I think I'm free because I am pushing myself and pushing myself. So by the time I get in my 20s, I graduate college. I start off at Domino's Pizza Corporate. First job, straight out the gate. Y'all know Pizza Tracker? That was the first project I worked on. Mama, I made it. I'm free, right? I ain't got to work. My mother was a stay-at-home mother, 30 years. So I'm thinking financial freedom, benefits, good job, all the things, right? Free, I'm whole. Now, I ain't got to deal with these trash dudes. Give me a trophy, boo. You stand on my side. Because I got the bread. You ain't got, what? I just need you here. But you know what? I was a menace in the boardroom. Pizza Tracker, when it first came out, the behind the scenes of the work that got into it, I won the CEO Circle of Excellence. Youngest person on the team. Not a lot of Black people in the company at all that look like me that's this young, winning an award. But I'm a menace because my boss reminded me of my dad. So when he would correct me as a boss should, I just saw a challenge. It was like, who are you talking to? I would put my headphones on and put my CD player on and ignore him at my desk. The arrogance, the boldness, but I didn't know the disconnect. And he said, you know, Tiff, if this ain't the job for you, I can let you go. I was like, wait, woo, just kidding, just playing. But also during that time when I would leave work, I would be in clubs fighting for these dudes, cheating, relationships, not keeping up with friendships. I was in churches than a clown. Like, you know what? Flipping tables. Jesus flipped tables. I do too. You wrong. Completely wrong spirit. So everything had hit this moment. And I said, am I going to tell myself the truth? It took a boss that was willing to say, hey, I don't like what I see. And it gave me the opportunity to, oh, snap, my time, my goodness. So it gave me the opportunity to see, hey, I need to go do some work. And that's when I did the root work. So with that root work, this is the framework called Ideally You that I went through. My counselor and my mentor said to me, what happens when you heal? All the other areas get healed as well. And I'm like, wait, what? And we walk through this journey of emotional, physical, social, intellectual, and spiritual. Now, with this journey, this was my counseling journey. And then from the counseling journey, I just kept walking out. And here's the thing with healing, it's never just one time. You continue ongoing. It's an ongoing work from healing to healing. Okay. And so with that work we did, fuel everything I'm doing right now, working with youth, because the youth are complex. There's this trauma here, but then there's the emotional processes here. There's the other things that's vying for their attention. And it comes across all of these different areas. So I started working when I got the book. I didn't know I was going to actually launch this framework, but it's like, what if you reimagined, okay, what does wholeness look like across each one of these areas? And I'm not piecemealing it together. What does it look like across each one of these areas? Not a definition that someone else told me. How do I look when it comes to my emotion? Because emotions are your indicators. They should not be drivers, right? How do a lot of times our emotions lead us because we do not have a kit and a first aid kit, right? We have a first aid kit in the event of emergency, but do we have an emotional kit? We know when that person called on the phone, like, ugh, what's the plan to deal with them, right? Versus, ugh. Some you may just have to be like, ugh. But I personally use the block button for that. But with that, when we talk about each one of these dimensions, I'm going to hit this really fast. When we talk about each of these dimensions, how was the quality of friends? Social. Have you audited your friends? Here's an amazing book. I love resources because it's not just about the awareness, it's the practical application. Because if all you do is come and get the information and never apply it, it's just information sitting. Use this, use these areas, all of the conferences, all of the speakers you've listened to over the past couple of days, listen to them and then segment it as your toolkit across each of these areas, right? Audit these areas. Social, how's my social circle? Relational Intelligence by Dr. Darius Daniels is an amazing book. Relational Intelligence is an amazing book because it talks about relationship management as life management. Sometimes the people that surround you is what's keeping the invisible visible. What seeds are they planting? Can they tell you the truth? Can you accept the truth? I'm not talking about those that are being mean. I'm talking about those that are going to speak life. Iron sharpens iron. Intellectual, right? That is talking about when the clutter. Do you have digital clutter? Do you have space clutter? All of that impacts. Once I got healed, I made them companies like $2 billion. I took negative bleeding markets and made them money. Markets that have never, that's how I ended up in Arizona. They sent me to be a marketing coach over 58 stores that never made Domino's money. I got healed, was able to think better, intuitive. I'm finding money in the company. Your thought process, your ingenuity, your intuition goes to a whole nother level. When you're able to say, delete all them text messages. I was just having a conversation at dinner with the squad. Delete the messages. I was going to take your space anyway. But the more digital clutter you have, disconnecting from social, those things matter. Physical. Health is truly wealth, right? You are what you eat. Some of these things are like, hey, day one. Thank you, timer. Some of these things are day one info, but it matters because even when you come up with a home of survival, if you come up with roots of survival, you're like, no, we eat everything. Just because we eat it, just because everything is lawful, should I do it? Yes, I can, but should I? Right? Yes, I'm going to need to eat some more salads. I'm going to still like those burgers. But I was eating emotionally. I had a hard day and I learned to start stuffing my emotions with food. That's a coping skill. Negative coping skill if it's not checked. Changing that as well. Emotional. Again, we kind of talked about that a little bit as it pertains to auditing your emotions, having an emotional first aid kit. If you think this is going to trigger you, you know what triggers you. And if you know what triggers you, ask yourself, why does that trigger me? And then, why does that trigger me? Ask yourself why 5 times. Because here's what I noticed at work. Once you get healed, you start noticing a lot of different aspects. Like, oh, I felt like I had to be the loudest in the room because my voice was never heard. You probably can think of some people right now in your classes, at your jobs. Some people look at the little kids I work with and say they're very manipulative. I see them trying to get their need met. I'm working with an 18-year-old girl right now. That's a whole nother talk when domestic violence is happening to kids and now they're homeless and now they're in shelters. Now they're trying to figure out, their brains haven't even been developed yet. And the systems aren't set up to support them because the systems say, hey, they're 18 years old, they're an adult, but they have so much fragmented trauma. Their brains are, they can't get a job. Right? So, and then spiritual. And this one, I hold on. I asked you not to check out. I got like 5 minutes left and then we'll open up for questions. Is for me, again, I told you my father was a preacher, so I am not aware of spiritual abuse. There is not a lack of awareness when it comes to spiritual abuse and people weaponizing scripture. In fact, I walked away from the faith because I couldn't understand, if God is so good, how could he let my dad, and he's a preacher, do this, right? And my therapist, I agree with what she said the last time. Vets see the therapist that work for you. He allowed the space for me to process. But in that, though, I had tried so many things. I was like, but I know my faith is my anchor. Helping him while working with my counselor, he helped me to be able to then be like, all right, well, I'm going to read the Bible for myself. And that is when I determined that the God of the Bible is not what is represented in today's society, back then in my house and now. So for you who are in the room that have even been harmed by those that claim that they are a Christian, I don't even like using the word. I say I'm a follower of Jesus Christ because that is who I model. And that is to love you no matter what you look like, no matter what decisions are. So I apologize to you for the harm that has been done, because what was done to me in my household, I saw that. And we found a safe church. That's also a part of my mission, going into equipping churches, because the stats, here's some couple stats, majority of survivors cling to their faith. So we have to have safe organizations. We have to have safe churches that know and be held accountable. I do hold accountable, but I'm not flipping tables like I was before. It just because I need you to hear me. I softly scare you now. Like if you didn't like have a plan in place to support a survivor and then a church shooting happens, you're liable. Oh, you care now. Bet. Let's go. And I challenge the systems. Our keynote speaker yesterday talked about not all of us can get to DC, but in your spaces and spheres of influence and what you're called to, impact that. Impact it. Shed a light on the darkness. So it's a matter of life and death. This is my dad's death certificate. My dad died 5 years ago. A lot of what the last speaker was saying, I felt like that from a dad's perspective. I had a complexity of my father. I love my daddy. I was a daddy's girl. But I also understand my father had a whole bunch of opportunities. And you can read the things that's on here because I don't even have time to. But with that, a part of my healing and wholeness, I took on forgiveness, and forgiveness didn't give him a pass. Forgiveness let the residue come off of me. To be able to then see, hold up, daddy, you was this way because granddaddy was this way and granddaddy was this way. So it's been a whole lineage thing. And my father died of a heart attack. He died at 68 years old. Random. Just saw him the following week. There was a lot of back and forth with us about me even doing this work. But I'm like, I love you. But because you couldn't control this and you didn't get the tools, these are the things I did. I encountered. And before my father died, he didn't know he was going to die. He apologized to my mother. The last year of his life, the tools, the reconciliation. That is why my organization exists, is because we're helping save the next generation, because it's a matter of life and death. Adverse childhood experiences, that's the spoiler alert. If you don't heal, you shave 20 years off your life. So I'm over time, but I thank you all for listening. I pray that you all got something. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
No, when you're starting.
Oh, that is a great question. You're starting to heal when that curiosity appears, of like the curiosity to be willing to consider another perspective, to consider another way, to not be in the area of like, I'm so stuck on doing it this way, right? Especially in an area that you've been 10 toes down in. For me, that was anger. When I realized I started healing, it was because I was, okay, I'm gonna take some deep breaths before I respond, or I'm not gonna respond right away, or I can just sit my phone down and just not listen to you at all. Or you know what? I can just block you. And then when you show signs of being healthy again, because I pay my bill, I'll unblock you, right? Those are some of the elements of it. The desire to want to change those aspects, the desire to search out resources, your body, and you know within yourself when you're ready to make the shift. The things I used to do, I don't want to do no more. I was clubbing, and then I was like, this is dumb for me. I see the same people in here. I don't want to see you all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I hope that helps. Any other questions? This was the mentor, Greg. I put this up. I saw people take pictures. Greg Harden, that's another one. He was my mentor. I didn't even know who he was. Athletic, you know him? Who said you know him? Yes, he died 2 years ago, but he got to me at 13 years old, planting a seed. He was the athletic counselor of University of Michigan. He is the reason Tom Brady is the way who he is, and he is the reason I stand before you today. Because he planted a seed that cultivated my gifts and didn't see the behavior. So Don't let those invisible visibles don't plant the symptoms. Don't treat just the symptoms only, the holistic component of it. And so I had to include this quote because he said this to me in 1998.